Wonderful. We're going live. Let's just see it come up on Facebook. Hello, everyone, if you can hear me or see me. Here we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Conversations. I'm really excited because I've met Malva just recently, and we've been talking about parenting and lots of different things, parenting with business, and she wonderfully agreed to come on from over in Europe at 5:30 in the morning, and look how vibrant she looks this morning. So welcome, Malva. And
hi,
Malva,
thank you so very much for having me. I am honored. Hi, everyone. And, early or late, it doesn't matter. We're just going to do our best.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as you said, we make things work. That's what we do in business. And now that we're mums as well, we just... There's no excuses. It's like you just have to get it done.
There are no excuses. And, there are no excuses in front of yourself, no excuses for your kids, no excuses for your boss. Everyone just expects you to be 100 and you try to deliver.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think my daughter actually mentioned something the other day like that. It's like, but you always do it, Mum. Yes, sometimes mummies need help. But Malva Gasowski is from Coaching Mother and All, and she's going to give you a quick rundown of what she does and how she works with people. And then we're going to have a chat and we're going to get to know Malva. And on Thursday, she's going to run a training, and I'm really excited how we can all take from today, but also Thursday. So, Malva, can you explain to us more about?
I'm excited to meet new people. I'm excited to share my story, and to be honest, I'm excited for everyone to feel that you can be a mom and you can be a businesswoman at the same time. You just have to make sure that you adjust a few things to make it right for your family.
That's it, and every family is unique. Every person coming into the family is unique.
Yeah.
And their lives are fun. Personalities and challenges. Like look at what's happening around the world now. It's thrown such a different paradigm out there that we're trying things from a different angle and from different experiences and taking from it what we can, kids as well as parents.
Well, you know what? I have had this aha moment a few months back. Because I have two businesses. One of them is strictly for the business world, so international clients like the big corporations, and another one is for parents and caregivers of children. So I would say more the individual client. And I had them separated, and then during this time that has changed and shifted a lot of the things, I had this aha moment that, hold on, I'm concentrating very much on, who's paying the bills. So is it the corporation, myself, because some of the things I do pro bono, or is it the individual customer? And I'm like, and that's not what I'm interested in. I'm interested in the human connection. That's number one. And number two, right now, we have homeschooling, home offices, home playgrounds, home restaurants, home attractions, and then at the same time, you want to rest somewhere. So this home is your resting place. So all of a sudden, the whole world has found themselves in a collapse of every single different element in the world, and it went under one roof. So the more help we give parents and the more help we give business people right now to kind of find themselves in whatever their new reality is going to make life a little bit easier for everyone, because it's not easy, okay? And we shouldn't expect it from everyone to be easy at all times, because it's not. So the new world, like you said, the new normal, which is technically abnormal, is making it work, all worlds under one roof.
Absolutely. It's the first time that everyone can relate to each other. It's really interesting, isn't it?
You live in interesting times, says the
very interesting times. Very patient times too at the moment.
Yes.
So, can you share with everyone watching where you are at the moment and how you're balancing having family with you in a completely different environment, but under someone else, like a different roof than you normally used to?
Yeah, so, I travel the world. I'm an international business trainer for big corporations, and I go with my family where my contracts kind of take me. So I've been homeschooling my kids since 2013, so a while back now. So we got a hang of, school is under our roof. And traveling with kids all the time, you have to adjust to the new normal every place you go. I have 3 kids. I'm sorry, I haven't said that. So as parents, that is a lot. And, having to travel with your kids, and sometimes I travel alone. So it's just me, 5 suitcases, 3 kids, and you got to make it work. And you kind of feel that you kind of power through because you have this passion, this vision of whatever you want to do in your life. And so I'm from Canada. That is where my business is. That is where my life is. But currently, for the past few weeks, I've been in Europe because I had finished a contract here, and the day after, everything was locked down. So again, making things work under a roof that is new to us.
That's it. Oh, well, that's so great. You can travel with them. And actually, for the fact that you've been homeschooling, that it hasn't been the shock that a lot of us have experienced when we're very grateful school has gone back. But also grateful for the teachers.
Yeah. So, having the possibility to actually homeschool your kids gives you the control to make sure that you're catering to the child and its needs, as opposed to catering to a book curriculum. So, with one of my children, I had to go a little bit faster because when it comes to the math subjects, he was excelling and the math was too easy. So I'm like, okay, let's just make it more challenging. And, with my other child, I found that his small motor skills weren't the best. So him having the possibility to actually use his hand for writing was troublesome, and he was stressed out. But instead, he preferred to read, and he preferred to do other things not hand related. So, making it better for the child, if he were in a quote unquote normal scenario at school, he would be forced to do so. For me, I was like, I went out to the store, I bought him Lego blocks, and I made sure I got the little pieces. And then every time he had to put together the little pieces, he would exercise his small motor skills. And within, a month or 2, his hand was already strong enough because his muscles were exercising for him to be able to take a pencil and write something. So, that gives you a little bit of freedom in making sure that you meet your children's needs.
And so you're becoming more aware of things that you may, not that we're missing it, but that they're doing all the time in the school environment. And that, you can add in those exercises.
That's true. You become more aware of your child, in tune to your child. I'm not saying, please homeschool or please don't. I'm not an advocate here to tell people what to do in their life, but I'm just trying to show the parents that right now everyone is homeschooling or distance schooling or whatever you want to use the word to describe the current situation. And because it's new for the parents, and because it's new for the teachers, and because it's new for the children, we shouldn't expect every single person to excel in it, because they're just learning. Children had never thought that home was the place to sit down and study. Children live in 2 different worlds, and they completely know that, how you behave at home versus how you behave at school is something that can be contradicting at times. So I don't know if you've ever listened to the song. I just said that phrase and it came up to me. There was a song by Ed Sheeran made with Sesame Street. And the name of the song is I Live in 2 Different Worlds. And it's kind of explaining to the children what's happening, that at home you can run around, you can scream, you can sit in any way you want on the sofa. But at school, you have to sit in your chair, and you have to make sure that you don't run around when it's not possible. So at home, you can speak whenever and wherever you want. At school, you have to raise your hand in order to have the possibility to express your thoughts. So now that world that is completely different collided, and parents expect the children at times to kind of behave, well, now you should do this. Well, the child is not used to it, and therefore the child needs a little bit of an adjustment period, and give them some grace as well, because they are stressed too, taking into consideration that a lot of adults had issues with their work or for loss to their jobs. So maybe even there's tension between the parents. So let's say mom and dad, or whatever the family structure is. having that tension is going to reflect on your children as well. And then you being angry that they're not doing their work on time or to what you have imagined them to do is also additional stress for them, making that dynamic a little bit different. So one of the reasons why I believe now more than ever, professionals who are spreading the word of positive parenting, conscious parenting, need to help parents understand that you are supposed to be your child's safe harbor. And you are the one that's supposed to show them how to behave and teach them, but make sure that everything that you do is a form of connecting as opposed to disconnecting to the child emotionally.
And that is so true. I can just imagine a tugboat in the harbour guiding. But they're little sponges. They feel it before we may even express it. And then they're an absolute mirror to how we're behaving or feeling or not responding.
Yes.
And it's one of the first things I do is actually go, well, okay, they're doing this. What am I doing that's reflecting that? Yeah. Because how can I ask them to change if it's not them who's doing it, it's actually us.
Yeah, I always say, parents who work with me, they're like, well, my children do this or they say that, and sometimes they don't listen to me, as a way of saying my children are misbehaving. But I look at the parents and I say, you shouldn't be worried that your child is not listening to you. You should be very worried that your child is observing you and mimicking you. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So very often, I don't know, we don't expect our children to use curse words and bad language. And then this is something that we use. We expect our child to, read a book, for example, and make sure that they're literate. When was the last time you took a book in your hand to actually read with that child? We expect our children to not have junk food, for example. Okay, well, have you looked at your own diet? What kind of things are you showing your child that is okay? So, okay, things like that actually really reflect on the child. If your child is talking back to you and as a teenager and whatnot and being disrespectful, then you should look at yourself and you should look at, number one, the relationship that you have with your partner and see if there isn't any disrespect there that is mirrored in the teenage child. And number two, teenage children generally are fed up with bottling up their emotions because they were not able to speak up, because they were not able to be heard, because they were not able to meet their need of power and control, which everyone has. And then all of a sudden they just explode. Yes, almost also due to hormones. And then if your child hates you for, I don't know, you're not going to the party, and then a teenager sometimes explodes. You sometimes see it on films, or maybe you've heard someone say, my teenage child said she hated me. Well, then what did you do to put her in such a position? Because no, she doesn't hate you. She just hates what you have done. And if a teenage child, talks back to you and says, you're ruining my life, having that consequence, then one of the first things that a parent should reflect upon is, my child misbehaved. Did I use that as a teaching moment to show him or her what the appropriate standards of behavior are? Or did I give them consequences that are completely not related and disconnected to the misbehavior itself? So for example, if my child is 5 minutes late and then I say, well, then you lose all privileges for electronics. What does being late have to do with electronics? Right? So again, make sure that you are actually connecting the consequences if you give your children, and make sure that these consequences are something that you have given in advance. So just like us parents, we shouldn't be accountable for agreements that we didn't sign because someone else wants us to be accountable for.
Having agreements in the house up on a wall would be really helpful.
No, like at work. If you have an agreement at work, and you haven't signed it, you haven't agreed to it, someone can't hold you accountable for following the rules of the agreement. The same situation is with children. If you haven't set an agreement with them at home, this is what we do in our family. This is how I want it. What do you think? Yes, I agree, Mom. Yes, I agree, Dad. Or I would like to tweak it. This is our agreement. And we both know what is the outcome of this agreement. So again, when it comes back up, then you say, well, you know what? We had an agreement and this is what's happening. So they know the rules in advance, as opposed to, you know, springing it up and making them surprised to what is happening.
Well, we do have that on our wall. These are the agreements that we have discussed together, so they can see it as well and just be aware.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It helps. But if it's not on there, that's certainly been an eye opener. So how do you balance, knowing that you're homeschooling, you're working, and you're traveling? How do you balance your life for you as a mum and a woman with your kids and with work? What do you do for yourself, and how then do you marry that in with the kids?
You know what? There's always a situation that something's got to give. Okay. I don't believe in the so-called perfect life, meaning, yes, I have laundry that's not folded. Yes, I have laundry that sometimes I haven't ironed when I should, or my husband hasn't ironed when we had set upon. The question is, do we want to make these petty things problematic? For me, there are a few things that are very important. And one of it is stay safe and stay sane, okay? And then make sure that we do that under the umbrella of love. So if, for example, today is not the best time for our family because of external reasons to sit and do homeschooling, then that's fine. So today, homeschooling's got to give. So if today I really want to spend some alone time with my husband, I'm going to make sure that there is no movie night and there is no sleepover, you know, kids sleeping together in each other's bedrooms, because I want to make sure that my kids are in bed at a certain time so that I can have some freedom. But that doesn't mean that, you know, the following day, mommy and daddy won't have their alone time and we'll just have movie night as a family on the couch. So making sure that we plan the things that we do and don't expect every single thing to happen at the same time is something that actually I have to learn every single day. I have to teach my kids, and, you know, my husband has to learn, because we're like, okay, so what is our priority? Let's see what we want today or this week or this month. And life is not a success story in the sense of we are there, ta-da, and now we're a successful family. No, it's a process that changes every single time, because we as women change, our children grow and change, the surroundings change. So I always say it's a perfecting process rather than a perfection success story. So if you see that something is not working for your family, be conscious enough to say, okay, what can I do in order to make it better? And if you're trying to, for example, speak to your child, and then all of a sudden he or she is just not getting it, it's not the child's fault. How are you wording it? What are you saying that the child doesn't understand? And maybe you need to break it down even more. So a situation from our house, let's say last week, I told my child, you know, get ready for bed. I need to put your brothers and sister to bed. So the older one gets ready by himself. The younger one still needs to be tucked in. So my eldest, who's almost 11, he got ready for bed. And then his friends were still outside. So he got out of the house and went to talk to his friends. And I was like, oh my goodness, what is happening here? Like, this is not what we do. When I say get ready for bed, these are the things that I expect from you. And I was angry, but I'm like, okay, so what have I done wrong? So I'm like, I called him and I'm like, what do you understand by the words get ready for bed? And he said, well, my teeth are brushed, my retainer is in, I've got my jammies on. I looked at the watch and it was 8:15. I have to be in bed at 8:30 to read a book for an hour. So I still had 15 minutes of, you know, lead time and freedom. And I saw my friends outside, so I thought I would talk to them. So, you know, technically following the rules. You know, I just had to see, okay, well, I didn't see it from that perspective that he was following the timeline. He was following the rules, but he just wanted to do something fun. So instead of being angry with him, I made sure that we are on the same page communication-wise, that the phrase get ready for bed is understood exactly the same way from both parties. And I'm like, okay, well, then I'm sorry, we must have miscommunicated. When I say get ready for bed, this is what I mean. And it doesn't mean, and then we kind of went through, individual steps and processes to make sure that next time when I say get ready for bed, it means whatever I want it to mean, and he's happy with that as well. So again, it is a process, and once you think everything is all settled, it's just going to change. So it is a constant working environment of improvement.
And that is so much so, not just with our children, it's in our businesses and with our friendships and with communications with anyone. Is our perception is going to be different. So it's not going straight into judgment, it's going into question. It's like, yes, what haven't I seen here? What can I do in a different way to make it clearer? Because I know I always say things in 2 or 3 different ways most times, because my way may not be understood. It's too easy to just be habitual, and different cultures make things so different. Like,
true. When you add cultures to the mix, that is a totally different story, because, doing cross-cultural training in organizations, sometimes the simplest thing people can't agree on, because my understanding of a deadline can be completely different than someone else's understanding of a deadline. So again, we need to make sure that in every communication, work, children, parents, partners, grandparents, we are very specific as to what we expect and what can be expected from us. So it's not only a command relationship, but okay, this is what you can expect from me. This is what I would like. Let's see how we can make it work, and choose your battles.
I think so. And having a part in that process makes such a difference for the children as well. And they step. I know. I've noticed
they take ownership.
It is. It's ownership, but it's also a sense of being. It's I'm important. I have a part of this. I am. I'm being heard is the main one, and I think that's where I watch my daughter.
Yeah, one of the things that, there was a flip in parenting, the parenting paradigm shift, as some people say, that too much responsibility was given to the children a few years back, and the children were overwhelmed and stressed. And on one hand, there were children that were not heard at all. And on the other hand, there were children that were put in the roles of adults. And so both situations are not okay. Just like you said, I want my child to know that he is heard. His opinion matters, but it doesn't mean that he is the one making the final decision. Yeah. So very often, just like now with the pandemic, my children my eldest had a lot of questions, and he was scared and he didn't know what to do, because all of a sudden his world went crashing down on him. And I'm like, you know what, baby, don't worry. Like, I got you. Like, I'm the mom. I'm the one that's going to make sure that we are safe, we are good, and most importantly, that we're together. The rest will fall into place. I'll answer any question you have, and you may come and give me your input on, what you think is fair and not fair, because children have a tendency to use that word very often. But, make sure that you are in my safe harbor, right? I am the one going to be taking care of you. So you don't worry. You just be a child. And so that is something that a lot of parents need to know, that, guys, take ownership of being a parent and being the responsible one, but make sure that you listen to your children and have your children be heard.
I think that's the biggest lesson, isn't it? I just love the word safe harbor. Thinking though, here in the bush, I might call it the safe home paddock. It's just, and I think also with you saying, previously they were given more responsibility than they should have had, but they could cope with their level in life at that time. I think that makes it also very interesting going forward to now. It's so, well, what is the right age for such and such? And every child is different on a maturity level. And because I noticed the difference between girl and boy, and also just personality types. And I think that's part of just that talking with them and communicating and having the feedback from them as to how they understand it and they comprehend what the end result can be.
Yeah. So very often, make the child lead the conversation. Whatever the conversation is, make sure that the child is leading the conversation. By leading the conversation, I mean asking questions. So when your child says, let's skip the pandemic, but when your child says, Mommy, where do children come from? So depending on the age level, you may give them a less or more detailed answer, but you won't know what their maturity level is unless you ask, what is it exactly that you want to know, right?
Yeah.
And if they, well, how do they come into this world? So you know that they are not grasping the concept of procreation. So you're like, well, you know what? And this is where you give the medically accurate answer. So for example, when there's a mommy and there's a daddy and they decide to have a baby, the mommy carries the baby in her belly, and then the doctors help the baby come out of the belly. So sometimes that is enough. Sometimes the child doesn't need anymore. And then you say, you know what, it's the same as you planting a seed. Sometimes you plant a seed and then you make sure that you nurture it. And then after a few months, you're able to pick a ripe tomato. So this is exactly what happens with babies coming into life, that, you know, they grow in mummy's bellies. And so saying that to a child, if he's not asking about the technicalities of, let's say, how do women give birth, then don't answer, because he may or she may not be interested. So a lot of parents are very scared of this quote unquote sex talk and like, oh my goodness, what am I going to say to my teenage child? Mind you, they're smarter than you think. They know more than you think they know. And just make sure that, you know, if you have a conversation, you make sure that this flow is from the very, very beginning. So my first sex talk with my child was when she was 2 years old. Not because we talked about the technicalities, but she noticed the difference between her body and my body. She's like, why is your body different than mine? So I had to explain to her, well, when women grow up, their body changes. When you're going to be as big as mommy, you might have the same aspects on your body as well. And so she was like, oh, okay. And that was enough. Well, if you look at it, we were discussing bodies, which is a form of sex talk, but she was okay to actually get the answer that she wanted by leading the conversation. And she just wanted to know if she's ever going to be the same as a grown-up, or is she going to be different? And that was enough.
Yes, because they don't see much further than that age, do they? It's like, oh, well, I'll just go and play now.
There's no point in giving them more, right?
Exactly. We're nearly at 9 and we're starting to have those conversations. The questions are coming up. My body's changing.
Exactly. Questions. So make sure that your children feel safe enough and confident enough to be able to ask you questions. And if they don't ask you questions, you know, hey, is there something that you want to know? Because I've noticed you've been doing this and this, right? So make sure, you know, whatever the topic is, make sure that maybe you initiate a question, because just like you as a mom and dad, you may not realize that your child is growing up. They're like, when did this happen? And then, you know, it happened in the process of you not realizing it. So, you know, we need to make sure that we are in tune to both ourselves, our partners, and our children as well.
We need, some days I just think, where's the reference manual? And then I go,
you are the reference manual. So that's one of the things that I keep telling the parents that I work with. Life doesn't come with a manual, like in a book form. You know, you mommy and you daddy, you are the reference manual. So get yourself together, get yourself educated so you can actually give the children what they need.
Exactly. And that's, we're always creating. That's it. It may not be creating, but it's creating experiences, responses, learning. Oh, that's it. So with your business as it is now, what's your vision for the future? What would you like to see happen? So in 5 years' time, where do you want to go?
5 years' time. Okay. I'm smiling because I had this conversation, let's say last month, if I'm not mistaken, with one of my mentors. And he asked me a similar question. And I'm like, you know what? I want to reach 1 million kids. And he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I want to change the lives of 1 million kids. And he's like, how do you intend to do that? And I said, you know what? One loving parent connection, you know, from one loving parent connection to another. So if I want to impact the lives of children, not because I want to actually give them something or, you know, show them a video, not necessarily, but I want to make sure that children in the end have a loving relationship with their parents. And I'm very keen on working with the parents. And one of the things that I do is I tell the parents, you know, you have to create an environment of love in your home. Okay, so there are many frameworks of a family. Sometimes you can be a single parent. Sometimes they can be two mommies or two daddies, or there can be, a mommy and a daddy and more, because it's a patchwork family. So whatever your home is, even if you are a single parent, you have to create a sense of love. So if you don't have a partner to love and a partner to love you back, make sure that you love yourself and you show your children that it's okay. I love myself, and that's most important. It's okay to be alone, for example. And whatever the dynamic is, make sure that it is based on love. And if you do that, then the children actually thrive, not only emotionally, but the research says they thrive academically as well. So my goal for the next year, so the next 12 months, is to reach 1 million children and to make sure to change their lives for the better. And one of the ways to do that is to educate the parents through, for example, live sessions like today, or through the content that I give on my platforms, or through any other speeches that I may give, and training sessions, because I want to make sure that parents and children have a good bond. So the tricky thing with parenting, getting back to your question, is that parenting happens if you're ready for it or not.
So you can't return.
No, there's no return policy. Okay, no matter how much you want it. So you can't just be, a little bit pregnant, or you can't be just a little bit of a mommy or a daddy. You are a parent, and parenting happens, and it's your choice how you're going to go through this timeline of parenting. Meaning, the time will pass, and you can figure it out. It's okay. You may think, I can do it on my own. But the question is, do you want to be creating a wheel that has already been created, but all you have to do is either purchase it or look for it? Okay. Do you really want to be bashing your head against the wall when there's a door right next to you where you can actually ask for help? So the question is, what do you want to do? You don't have to do it on your own. Parenting is hard enough. Ask a specialist for help. And that's not to say that there should be shame that you're not managing as a parent, because if you have that mentality, then yes, you are going to shame yourself. But just in America, every single family spends $44,000 on the children's education. So the beginning of the educational process. Yeah. And out of that sum, only 1% goes to the education of the parents. So technically speaking, we as a society are paying $44,000 a year, not a year, but per child, for someone else to connect with our children. And we're not making sure that we're connecting with them as well. So, this is something that you have to think about. What end result do you want? Because your child is going to grow up. And what kind of result do you want to have when it comes to the relationship with your child? Some parents are estranged from their children. Some parents, don't know even how to communicate with their children. Some children don't even want to come back to home after they had left for college. So this is the result. Like you said, this is the mirror of the parenting style. The question is, what do you want your life to be? Because parenting starts from the day you find out you are pregnant to the day you say goodbye forever. Even if your child is 50 years old and you're 75, that is still going to be your child. And that is still a parent-child dynamic that needs to change. So, for example, when you have children, your parents have to change the dynamic and the relationship between you and your children as well. So that too is a process that you need to learn on how to do it, how to make it work. So getting back to your original question, I want to reach 1 million this year and hopefully another million in the next year.
Awesome. Well, let's help you get there. And actually, just what we've been talking about, that is just, I think that's my big zinger for today for me personally. But I know my son, I think he was about 4 or 5 when he asked my father, it's like, why does Nana Mary call you her baby boy? And it's because I think they were just talking about something, and my grandmother called her son. And it's like, but he's not a baby anymore. And I said, well, we're still mums the whole of your life. We're always going to treat you are our little one in our minds, but you will grow up and have your own life. That's just the way that
but you'll still be my baby.
Absolutely. He couldn't kind of get the concept. But Malva, so with that, we've got so much going on in life and everything, but back to us as women, what's one of the skills that you think that we should all learn, and why? Like, what's something that you feel is just
should or shouldn't? I'm sorry, I didn't
should. Yeah, is paramount in our lives moving forward, whether with family, with business.
It doesn't matter if you're talking about business or family or friendship. There are two things that, in my opinion, are crucial for women specifically, but this can be also applied to men. Yeah. I believe that you need to make sure that you work on your communication skills. So communication skills are the key to make sure that you excel in the relationship. And by that, I mean, everyone can talk. As soon as we, reach the age of, let's say, more or less 18 months, then we start talking, and we've been communicating earlier, but we start talking in the language that we are being brought up in. Yeah. But that doesn't mean we're doing it well. So just like children start walking and they're a little bit wobbly, and then they start running and they have scrapes and bruises on their knees, and, and even now as an adult, I can say I can run. But if I were to talk to someone who is a professional runner at the Olympics level, that person would look at me and he would say, you're nowhere close to a word and the definition of running. Okay. You have a lot to learn. So this is exactly what an analogy that I want to show the parents. The fact that you are able to utter words or even use sign language, that doesn't mean you know how to communicate. Okay. You are just spitting out words and thoughts, but are you really communicating? What communicating tools do you have for your relationship, like the private one, for your friendships, for your relationship with your children, and for the relationships at work, being it peers, subordinates, or your bosses? So make sure you work on your communication skills. That's number one. And while you're working on your communication skills, make sure that you work on your assertiveness. Because we don't want you to feel the imposter syndrome, for example, or we don't want you to feel that, you can't speak up because of whatever boundaries that you have set for yourself. So making sure that your needs are met and the needs of other people are met as well as an assertive communicator is going to, make you go places, because very often relationships are strained, stretched, or broken because of people's assumptions and interpretation of intentions instead of because of how they communicate. So those are the two, I'd say, paramount skills that women in business, women at home should learn, and to know that, you're worth it and your inner voice matters.
Wonderful advice. Thank you. And yeah, as you said, just in every area of our life, that they're both so important. And so with we're going to wind everything up. I've taken so much away today, as well as our chat before this. Absolutely, it's a real reassessment as well of everything we do, the questions we ask, the person we be. But knowing that you have mentorship in your world as well, what is one piece of advice that you have taken from someone else, and how has that impacted your life?
A piece of advice. To tune in to other people. So I am a very driven type of girl. I kind of do, meaning, I'm this ball of energy that runs around and makes sure that I get everything done either at home or at work. And then it's never enough for me because I want more. I always see, yes, I'm grateful for what I had achieved, and I'm grateful for what's happening. I'm grateful for my family, but I've got this hunger and this thirst for life to have more. And one of the great pieces of advice I got from my mentor was, you have to look around you and see that not everyone is on the same broadband as you. Some people can be a little bit slower, meaning that they bring value as well. Don't just kind of zoom forward, leaving the ones that don't follow or didn't even notice you because you went like a road runner past them so quickly. So that was advice that I got, I'm not going to lie, about 15 or 20 years ago. And when I still find myself in this passion of doing something, trying to get something done, and I stop and I said, okay, whoa, wait, what is happening right now? Am I including everyone that I want around me in here? Am I in tune to what other people are saying to me or about me? And are these pieces of information important? Because if my children are, for example, misbehaving and they're whining and this car ride is just a drag, then I have to say, okay, wait, stop. You're on a mission to run your errands. Have you put too much on your plate and on the plate of your children, and they're just telling you that they've had enough, right? So, whatever obstacles come my way, I make sure that I stop and I tune into the other people being affected as well. So, and then I'm like, okay, you know what? It's not necessarily to take the clothes to the dry cleaners today. Guys, that's it. Let's just stop the car. There's a playground. Let's go play for half an hour. And all of a sudden, the dynamic in the car and in the family changes. They're like, yes, thank God, mommy, you're the best. And then all of a sudden, from this whining atmosphere of, children not being happy, being grumpy, and you wanting to kind of go, you get into this atmosphere of, mama, you're the best. The only thing that you had to do was, take us to the playground for 15 minutes or 20. So, again, make sure that you are in tune with the people around you. And if something is not working, make sure you change the plans to make it work for your family.
That's awesome. And that's something that always not astounds me. I suppose I'm just so conscious of it now, is how kids can pivot so quickly and so easily. And there's no fanfare. It's screaming, happy, punching, crying, happy. And I remember Dad once saying, how can you be screaming at each other and then be happy the next moment? And then I'm watching my kids do the same. It's like, great lesson, kids. Thank you. And what a wonderful one. Yeah, tuning into yourself. It's just so, we are thinkers. A lot of us are head people. So we're forgetting to connect in general. Yeah. That's great advice from your mentor. And that, it's something that you've been able to do and in your life now and be conscious of, and then use it in your business as well and across the whole board. Wonderful. I'm just going to look, what other wonderful questions? Okay. What are 3 habits, Miss Malva, that you that make you successful?
Yesterday I didn't even realize this is a habit that I do, but I just yesterday I was told that, what, you are so persistent that sometimes it's mind-boggling. If you have a goal and a mission, you just go get it. And I was like, yeah, well, doesn't everyone? No, not everyone does that. So, if they won't let you in, through the front door, knock on the side door. If they won't let you through the side door, knock on the window, and so on, and make sure that you understand what is happening. So yes, I am very persistent. I don't take no as an answer, not because I don't agree with someone, but I want to understand why. So if someone says, nope, that's not going to work, I'm not going to say, okay, I'm gonna question. I understand and I respect your opinion. You said no to me, but just so we're clear and I understand where this no is coming from, is it, I don't know, because of finances, because you're not happy with my services, or is it because you're not ready, or is it, I try to make sure that I understand where that, for example, no is coming from, so that I can say, okay, if you are not ready today, and this no means I'm not ready in my life organization to, for example, do something with you, go on holiday with you, for example, then is it okay if I get back to you in a little bit, right? So I make sure that, number one, I understand where the answer is coming from if it's a no, and then if it's okay for me to still dig that perspective in a few weeks, months, years, whatever the situation is. So my husband always says, when I say no, you always get your way. How do you do that? I'm like, yeah, give me time. All right. So that's one thing. Be persistent. Make sure that when you do have goals and this is something that you value and these are important and crucial goals for you, that you do it one step at a time and you are persistent and you don't give up after the first failure or the first no. That's number one. Number two, I believe, and I'm a very strong believer of this, that networking with people, not for the benefit of finances, but just for the benefit of meeting amazing people and having the possibility to join forces and do better, but making sure that we're doing greater good for everyone else and ourselves included, is sometimes the biggest reward. So I really think that people are my biggest reward. And one of the habits are I make sure that whenever I am with a person, that they feel good in my presence, and that at the end of the conversation, we are both better people. Because just like you said, you took some things from this conversation. Trust me, I took a lot of the things from, having interaction with you and having conversations with you. And at the end of this 45 or 50 minutes, I'm going to say I'm a better person because of Kate. And that's the amazing thing of connecting with people. Yeah. And last but not least, this is the third one. I would like to say, make sure that you are kind. So if you are kind to yourself, kind to the people around you, kind to Mother Nature, and kind to every creature, then the love will come back to you. So people will appreciate the love that you give, and they will be more loving towards you as well.
It's a lovely way to say it. Another way of saying, if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. But if you're giving love, you're receiving love. Oh, that's beautiful. And Malva shared with me before we came on the live that she has a book that has just been released and is going great guns. And so, Malva, I'd love you to share that with everyone and also how they can connect with you.
Okay. So thank you very much for the opportunity, for having the possibility for me to talk about this. So yesterday, there's the pre-orders have launched for the book, The Power of Why. And just like I said, I love connecting with people. So it's 23 amazing business women from all around the world sharing their story of why, why they took a leap of faith to start their business, and how every single woman is diverse in color, in age, in experience. They share their why. And our mission with this book is to start a movement of share your why, meaning why are you doing what you're doing and what is driving you? Okay. And how can you inspire others to actually improve and be better? So this book came out on pre-sales yesterday. It's already #1 in the USA. It's bestseller #1 in the UK. We're waiting for Australia. So, having that perspective of, we connected, 23 women connected, and we created something amazing because of our positivity and the idea of trying to influence for the better the lives of others. And funny thing is, we did it in 2.5 weeks. So from a seeding of an idea, 23 women came together and we published a book, and it became a bestseller in almost 3 countries in a time span of 2 weeks.
Fantastic.
So that's one thing. And another thing,
persistence and connection.
Sorry?
Persistence and connection.
Yeah. So you can find me at Coaching Mother and All, both on Instagram and on Facebook. I've got my own website as well. If you write Coaching Mother and All, I'll pop up because, I'm a mother and all the things in between. And I'm happy to help you with your parenting and all the things, family, relationship, and business connected.
Oh, that's wonderful. And thank you so much for your time. And thank you for being present at the hour that you're present at. And it's sometimes the time of the day, isn't it?
Thank you very much for having me. And I'll connect to your tribe very soon.
Yeah. So if you would like to put the link for the book in the comments for this live, that'd be really great, so people can find it.
Thank you very much.
And yes, so we look forward to interacting. And you have your training on at 9:30 Australian Eastern Time on Thursday, which is exciting. And can you just tell us a little bit more about the training for everyone?
So the training is going to circle us back to the beginning of this conversation. You know, our children are our mirrors in everyday life, meaning, you know, mom and dad, make sure that you are not worried about your children actually listening to you or not, but make sure that they are watching you. So one of the things that I'm going to teach is how to connect to your child to see as a mirror reflection, how are you doing as a child, as a parent, and how are your children are reacting and thriving in this environment, and to make sure that it is a better environment for both parties. So we're going to talk about parental feedback and mirroring effects of both children and parents.
I'm looking forward to that training, very much so. So thank you again, and I'm going to say to everyone, we've got a few more guests coming on soon. I'm really excited to talk to some amazing mums and also some amazing women who contribute to mums. So keep an eye out. I'm going to be sharing that information in the group. And if you're wanting to share your brilliance, just like Malva did today, please message me and we can have a discussion as to what we can arrange. And usually it is an interview like now, because we want to get to know the mum behind the business, and then a training, because that's what this space is for. It's for you to share the brilliance with everyone, and it's your opportunity to get up and have a go. And if you don't do well, you're in a safe space to keep practicing, because you have all of us lifting you at the same time. So thank you again, everyone.
Thank you, Kate, for having me. Thank you, everyone, for watching, either live or on replay. And I look forward to connecting with all of you.
Wonderful. We'll see you later, everyone. Thank you very much.
Take care.
And